Hey guys, so today I'm doing a DA Office D on my 4 soundless ducks to show you how to do one of these all soundless. Now I've never done an all soundless DA Office before, this is my first one. So I'm just going to show you the kind of strategy that I would use. There are many strategies and I will try to explain other options as we're going through. Now I don't know how long DA offices last because I've never worked law with random tunes before. I've always either done it with a friend where we were both running 2 tunes or completely by myself by running 4 tunes. Now this DA office lasted 30 minutes and about 20 seconds and I was running all 4 tunes, doing all the puzzles completely myself and doing terrible at obstacles. So I think that's about average or maybe a little bit longer than average, but again I'm all 4 tunes so that slows me down. So for this first set, I went ahead and have one tune go ahead to lure. That way I could have all 4 cogs lured in and have all 4 tunes available to attack. It's a very important concept and a very important strategy for the DA office, so I highly suggest allowing this to happen. Don't join in and then take out one of the cogs because you feel bad about passing. Let it be lured in so all 4 cogs are still there and all 4 tunes are available to attack. Then I used cream pies on the 10s. Remember, no crossing. Try your best not to cross. The right 2 tunes attack the right 10, the left 2 tunes attack the left 10. Now that I have 11s, I'm going to do storm and hose. Make sure you do a storm and a hose. Don't double storm just because you're going to end up running out of storms way too quickly. As you watch through this video, you will notice that I'm running out of most of my gags by the end, so it's very important not to be wasteful. Now my philosophy while doing these kind of instructional videos is to never get the restocks, because restocks are completely random, so I do not get any gag restocks in here. And because of that, I have to work with exactly what I can carry. And it all works out. I'm able to defeat all the cogs without getting restocks. Now I think this here is going to show you pretty well why it took me 30 minutes to do this whole DA office. My tunes stand around quite a bit because I'm terrible at running 4 tunes through obstacles. I have to do them 2 at a time. So it takes twice as long for me to go through obstacles. Now for this I'm going to do 3 TNTs and a lure. Now one way you can decide to do this is whoever's standing in front of the 12 can be the one who lures and everyone else TNTs the 11 in front of them. Or you can do like I do and just have one random tune lure, whoever called it perhaps, and the other 3 TNT the 11s. And the way you do that without crossing is the right tune attacks the right 11, the middle tune who's using a TNT attacks the middle 11, and the left tune attacks the left 11. You just kind of take out of the equation the tune luring and the 12 and you can very easily figure out which cog is quote-unquote in front of you. Now here I'm using hoses instead of cream pies because those cream pies are pretty valuable and I'm going to run out of them towards the end of the DA office. So I shouldn't waste them on anything. I want to save them for those 10s when I'm using 2 cream pies to defeat a 10. So use hose. And absolutely use hose. Don't use seltzer because you think it goes faster in animation. You have to have the hoses in order to have enough damage to kill the 11. So here I'm going to do the lure again. Now unfortunately it misses, which is just frustrating. And Amala here gets down pretty low. So I'm going to use tune up and I'm going to lure again and then I'm going to pass on the other tunes. Because again, you don't want to have a tune attack one of the cogs just because they feel useless. They feel like it's bad to pass. One of the things that makes sound go so quickly is because all the tunes are using the same gag track and all the cogs are dying at the same time. It's the animations of using the gags and the cogs dying that really take up the time in a battle. So if all the tunes are using the same gag track, all the animation's happening at the same time. And if all the cogs are dying at the same time, all that animation is happening at the same time. And that's what makes sound quick. So as soundless tunes, we can simulate that by having all 4 tunes use the same gag track, killing all 4 cogs, ideally, with that same gag track. When you can do the all lure in and then all cake cog in front of you, that's going to be just as quick as it is using 2 fogs and 2 trunks on 11s or a fog and 3 trunks on 10s or whatever you're doing. So you want to try your best to take out as many cogs as you can in the same round using the same gag track. So don't mix up, don't throw in your organic storm because you want to use an organic storm on a 10. Don't throw a cake at a 10 while everyone else is tuning up and luring because you feel like it's just a bad thing to pass. Just go ahead and pass so you can take out as many cogs as possible in the same round. So here I'm going to do TNTs again. Now you need to make sure that the toon who lured last floor uses a TNT this time, because if you don't, that person is going to end up with 2 TNTs left on him and none of the other toons will have one, and that's not helpful to you at all. And I used magnet here because I had misjudged how many hypnos I needed for the entire DA office, and I thought I was going to run out even without one passing, but that wasn't the case. I actually don't run out of them at all, so I didn't need to magnet here. Hypno is more accurate than magnets, so it's a better thing to use, but with so many traps down, it increased the accuracy of the magnet, so it worked out fine. And again, use your hoses here, don't use cream pies. One thing I find amusing about doing all soundless things is when ranked in difficulty from easiest to hardest, the facilities for each boss actually go in order. The easiest is absolutely the factory. The second most difficult, or the second easiest, is the mints. The third easiest or second most difficult is the DA office, and then the hardest would be the back nines. But when you're talking about the boss battles, the easiest is the VP, the second easiest is the CJ, and I actually think those two are tied for easiest. The second most difficult would be the CFO, and the most difficult would be the CEO. So I just find it interesting how the bosses and the facilities don't actually line up in difficulty. But that was off topic. So here I'm doing lure again, and I'm using tune up as a stun just because I'm really good at getting my tunes zapped by that stupid light. So I used tune up as a stun, lured them all in, and I went ahead and did cream pie. Now, if at least 2 people in the group have organic throw, you can do lure on these battles and all 4 of you use cake. And if you do have at least 2 people with organic throw, I highly recommend doing that strategy. And under no circumstance should any of the tunes ever use a cake if you're not doing 4 cakes at the cog in front of you, because those cakes are more important than foghorns. Only use them on those rounds where you can all 4 of you cake. And that just goes back to the discussion about cog animations and how fast you go. So that battle was just like the 2 before, where I just did the pies and then I did storm hose. Go ahead and speed it up to get through these obstacles. So now 2 of my tunes have a TNT left, so for this battle I'm going to go ahead and join in, and I'm going to use TNTs on 2 of the cogs. I'm going to pick one of the 11s and I'm going to pick the 12. That way I can go ahead and kill that 12, so I don't have to use 2 storms on it in the next round. So I use a hose to go along with the TNT, mostly because I don't want to use my berry pie and I absolutely don't want to use my cream pie, so I did use a hose. I could have also used the seltzer had I been thinking, but for some reason I had in my head 170 damage, so I used the hose. Now this does slow it down a bit because I used 3 different gag tracks, but in the end it's not that big a deal if I'm not doing that every single battle. When you're doing something like this every battle, you're going to end up having a ridiculously long DA office, but if you're only doing it every once in a while, it's not that big a deal. So here I go ahead and use my storm hose. Again, I'm running really low on the squirt, but that's okay, I'm almost done using it. I hate this room here, especially when running 4. I've always called this room the noob squisher, because when Lawbot HQ first came out, that's where the little tunes, like the 50s that jumped on the elevator with you, that's where they would always die at. So I just called it the noob squisher. And I admit I have killed my tunes in that room more times than I want to admit on Toontown Rewritten, which is really sad to say. But I have killed tunes in there on accident because I wasn't paying attention. Now here I'm going to use my favorite strategy. I'm going to use all drop. Now like I said in the mint video, if you haven't checked that out, I recommend it. I rather use my all drop strategy on sets of cogs that are all 10s or 111 and 3 10s, and this right here is exactly why, because the drop is much more likely to miss on 11s than it is to miss on 10s. As the cogs get higher, it actually decreases the accuracy of your gags. Like level 12s, for example, decrease your gag accuracy by 50%. So you definitely want to use these pianos on 10s and not 11s. Now, a way you can get around that is by stunning with tune-up, because like I said, tune-up is a stun, so it helps accuracy. So you can use tune-up on one tune and drop on the other 3. Or you can actually use lure as a stun. Now, I'm not saying use a magnet and lure all the cogs in and your drop will hit, because obviously that's not true. But what you would do is the 4th tune who's not dropping would use a lure, a $10 bill, on the 4th cog that's not being dropped on. So you lure that 4th cog in, and it's going to increase the accuracy of all the pianos in play, and hopefully those pianos will hit the 3 cogs that are unlured. And now you have this lured 4th cog in that you're not going to have to deal with because it's not going to attack you. So I use storms there. Now, because I don't have that organic throw here, I'm going to use my cakes finally. I do go ahead and pass. Like I said, pass. Never take out the cogs just because you feel like it's bad to pass. Passing is perfectly okay when you're doing it strategically. And if you're going to use this strategy, one trick to it is to make sure that all 4 tunes use a cake each battle. So my tunes are going to take turns between using cream pies and cakes. You can also carry berry pies with you and use berry pies instead of creams. That way you have more cream pies to defeat those 10s in the Skelecog battles. My tunes don't have the 80 gag bag yet, so I don't quite have enough gags on me. I tend to think that all my gags are important. It's not quite true. I don't need 7 safes. I don't need 4 trapdoors. But I'm lazy and I only have 1 set of gags that I carry to everything. So once I get the 80 gag pack, I will be carrying more berry pies because it just helps you save some of those cream pies for when you really need cream pies. So now each of my tunes have 2 cakes left, and that's going to be very helpful because there's exactly 2 floors left ahead of me. Minesweeper is my favorite, so I always make sure that I do it very thoroughly. It slows me down, but it's enjoyable, so. Now here I'm going to do drop again. And drop is about to remind me why I hate it so much. And this is why I think in the future I will be doing the tune-up stun in 3 tunes drop strategy. Because, watch this. 3 of the pianos miss. And I'm fairly certain they did that just to tick me off. So because the 3 missed, all the cogs are going to attack. And I decide to go ahead and use my last piano on 3 of the tunes and use a tune-up from 1 of the tunes. I have enough gags for the final Skelecog round on the last floor that I don't need these pianos for that battle. And thankfully they all hit because that tune-up stun worked fabulously. And here there's a fog barrel, just to prove my point that there's always a fog barrel when you're running stuff soundlessly. And now I'm going to do my lure and then cake cream method to take out these cogs. And again, I'm just making sure that I don't cross, and I'm making sure that each of my tunes use 1 cake in this battle. And I do notice here that I am running out of cream pies, so I decide to use my single berry pie that I'm carrying with me to help take out. A berry pie and a cake is enough damage to kill a 12. And you can see I crossed an accident, so I fixed it. But a berry pie and a cake is enough to take out the 12, as long as it's lured, of course. If you're not sure how much damage your gags are going to do when 1 tune is attacking a single lured cog, you can have your calculator pulled up and just multiply the amount of damage your gag does by 1.5, because the jump back bonus is of course 50%. If you have 2 tunes using the same gag track like throw or squirt and you get a jump back bonus, multiply the amount of base damage the 2 gags do by 1.7, because there is a 20% bonus for using this, or combo bonus. So for instance, if you wanted to figure out how much 2 cream pies do to a lurd cog, you would do 40 plus 40, which is 80, times 1.7. So that's how you figure that out. This is especially helpful if you don't have maxed gags and you're trying to figure out if your cake can indeed take out that 9 or not. And as a soundless toon, it's really important that you do learn the Toontown math. It's really not that difficult, especially if you just use a calculator, and eventually you're just going to learn it all and you're going to have it in your head. But Toontown math is very important. One thing I find interesting about the game in general is the Cellbot HQ. Each of the HQs teach us something as toons or as a community in general. The Cellbot HQ introduces people to the very basics of strategy. So that's where you learn how to use your throw, how many cream pies it takes to take out each kind of cog, things like that. The Cashbot HQ really teaches sound strategies. So that's how you learn. You learn what the 1 fog strategy is. You learn how many fogs you need to take out different cogs, and you start to learn how to take out extra cogs in the CFO. So like if you have 3 9s and a 12, you learn that you can do 1 fog, 2 trunks, and a cake on the 12, and that will take out all the cogs. So that's what this Cashbot HQ teaches. The Lawbot HQ teaches you about not crossing, and it teaches you, or reinforces really, the sound strategy, but also it teaches you in these DA offices how to delegate your gags out, how to make sure you're using your gags efficiently. And then the CEO, it just throws everything at you, and it really teaches you cog math. Especially as a soundless toon, you really learn math there. But anyway, here I'm just going to do my throw again because I've got enough of that left over. And this DA office was fairly easy. Like I said before, it lasted 30 minutes for me, about 30 minutes, 20 seconds. And that's pretty good timing, especially since I was running all 4 toons and running into walls everywhere. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. We'll try to answer them. As always, down in the description, I will link videos to other DA offices so you can see more strategies. There'll be more videos coming in this series, including hopefully a Soundless back 9. So subscribe to the channel. Be on the lookout for that. This is also a collaborative channel, so other Soundless toons, other members of ours will upload videos throughout the year. So be sure you're checking that out. I really hope you're enjoying your Soundless toon. Thanks for watching.